President has a 60% disapproval Bloomberg poll in terms of his handling of the deficit. There's only 23% of Americans now saying that they are certain that they'll vote for Obama's reelection. 55% say that our children are destined for a lower standard of living. 2/3 say the country's on the wrong track economically. And, you know, you would think politically that they would at least be pragmatic like Bill Clinton and change course. Do you see them just digging into this rigid ideology? Is there anybody in the Democratic Party that sees the danger politically for them?
Well, Sean, if you think about it, the Democrats are not able to cut spending. Their whole political base is created by giving money away, redistributing wealth, new government programs. The idea of a balanced budget to them essentially puts them out of business. So the Republicans have to be prepared to fight to stop this reckless spending. So those who say it can't be done need to get out of the way, because there are a lot of us who feel like this is at the time. I frankly think the 2012 election is going to be this August. If Republicans fail, and if we cave in on this one, I don't think the country's going to have any room for us in the next election.
The Republicans did fail on the 2011 budget. I hate to tell you, Senator, and it disappointed a lot of conservatives, including myself. This is a very key moment that they hold the line. And I think walking out of this meeting today was pivotal. We see what's happening in Europe. We see what's happening in Greece, what's about to happen in Spain. I mean, really all throughout all throughout Europe, all European countries now are suffering under debt. Do you foresee, what is the worst case scenario you see for America?
Well, Sean, the worst case is that we already have a debt level that if interest rates return to their historical averages, we can't even pay our debts now. And they're talking about taxing the economy more, which means bringing more money to Washington, taking it out of the private sector. This president doesn't know how the American economy works. We've got to do everything we can to stop him, to elect someone who understands American exceptionalism. But frankly, we can't wait a year and a half to stop the spending. If we pass a balanced budget amendment now, it'll change the whole paradigm in Washington. Next year's election will be all about a debate for 50 states ratifying this constitutional amendment.
Absolutely.
That's where we need to take this debate.
I don't think Congress or future Congresses can control themselves. This is the insurance policy we need. I fully support it, and I think it's a good idea to make it a big campaign issue and let the Democrats take the right side or wrong side at their own peril. Senator, good to see you.
Thanks, Sean.
And coming up, the indoctrination of our youth continues, this time in Maryland, with a state law that mandates, quote, environmental literacy. We're going to expose the frightening curriculum. But first, more dire poll numbers for the administration. And next, we're going to have the latest indication. We'll show you the numbers that President Obama's reelection may, in fact, be in jeopardy. Another day, another bad poll for the president, and most of this has to do with only one thing, and that's the economy. A new Associated Press JFK poll released today shows that 80% believe the economy is in poor shape, while only 16% describe it as good. Now, out of that 80%, 36% describe the economy as very poor, a new high for the AP polling. But that's not the only blistering poll for the anointed one. 63% of those polled believe the country is headed in the wrong direction. Only 33% said that they feel like we're going in the right direction. Not the position that Team Obama wants to be in as they try and convince you, the American people, that he deserves to be reelected. Joining me now with reaction, the author of the New York Times bestseller, Courage and Consequence, Fox News contributor, Karl Rove. Sir, how are you?
Fantastic, Sean. How about you?
You know, this is a series of polls now that have come out, series of horrific, I mean, not bad, horrific data on the economy. And I'm beginning to think the psychology is kicking in with the president. As he said, well, you know, there are days I don't need to be president. My kids don't need their dad to be president. My wife doesn't need me to be president. Is there somewhere back there in that subconscious, unconscious part of his mind he recognizes he's failing?
You know what? I think he just says that in order to make us feel like he's above being president. But look, he desperately wants to be president. That's why he is given up the job of being president in order to be a full-time candidate about a year earlier than he needs to. That's why he's doing all of these fundraisers, and that's why everything that this administration is doing, from the decision about Afghanistan last night to the decision today about SPRO, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, is all about politics. I mean, it's really remarkable. This guy is not listening to General Petraeus on Afghanistan. He's listening to General David Plouffe, who's sitting in the West Wing of the White House plotting his reelection.
You know, that's a sad commentary. If the President of the United States, basically when we leave and the Taliban takes over again, this is only because you're saying this decision is because he wants to get reelected.
Sure, absolutely. There's no rationale for this decision from a military perspective. We're taking troops out of Afghanistan during the fighting season this year, and we're going to be withdrawing troops before the end of the fighting season next year. And this is after the president had earlier signaled that he was willing to keep them there through 2014 in order to fulfill the strategy which he himself adopted, which he himself blessed, which he himself ordered implemented in the fall of 2009. So, no, this is all about politics, and last night's speech was one of the most self-serving political declarations ever made by a president of the United States, and frankly made me ashamed.
All right, that's pathetic, by the way. You wrote a piece, Wall Street Journal, why Obama is likely to lose in 2012. Tell us.
Well, first I said there are 4 reasons. One is the economy. The economy is not where it ought to be. It's 9.1% unemployment. The Federal Reserve and the blue chip forecast both suggest that unemployment is going to be above 8% next year. Remember, President Obama said that we would top out unemployment at 8% by the end of the summer of 2009 and be about 6.8% unemployment today. And yet, with 14 million Americans unemployed, we're going to be well above by Election Day next year, where he promised we'd be at that point 3 years before. And look, no president's been reelected with unemployment above 7.2% since 1936. And the guy who did get reelected was Ronald Reagan, who had a much more robust economy in '83 and '84 than we're likely to see in. No,
we were at 7-8% growth those years, so it was proving that his economic policies were working when all the metrics, all the data we have now shows just the opposite about President Obama. What I don't understand is, and I'll even give credit to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton recognized that he lurched too far to the left. He moved to the right, worked with Newt Gingrich, learned a lesson in the midterms. I don't see that same pragmatic side in Barack Obama. They're talking about another stimulus. Tim Geithner's talking about more tax hikes. It seems like they want to double down on stupidity and double down on everything that has not worked to date. And I'm wondering, have they not learned anything?
No, they haven't. I mean, look, the second reason he's in bad shape is because of wrong policies. 56% of the American people disagree with his policy on the economy, his handling of the economy. 59% disagree with his handling of the deficit. Only 38% of the American people agree with his signature domestic initiative, which is affordable health care. Not to dwell on too many numbers, but this brings up his third problem. The way he's handled the economy and the way he's handled major issues is driving down his numbers among key voter groups. If you take a look at his approval rating, which was 67% when he was sworn in, it's 45% today. And take a look at these groups. This is how much they've dropped from the time of his inaugural. 25 points among whites, 24 points among older voters, 23 points among independents and college graduates, key to his election in 2008, 22 points among those with a high school education or less, men, younger voters, which were essential to his victory, Southerners, 20% among married couples, those making $2,000 to $4,000 a month, and the Hispanics. This is why the president is in deep trouble with key voter groups. It's not just the left-wing bloggers at Netroots, but it is among a wide swatch of key voter groups that this president's in deep trouble.
Those net kooks will go back to the president regardless. They'll never vote for a Republican, but we never expected that would happen. But those independent numbers and the other numbers you're showing, I think, are pivotal. You're right. All right, as you look at the presidential field now, a couple of interesting things happened. One of the biggest stories, I think, to emerge is Michelle Bachmann's numbers now. Even a couple of polls show her leading in this campaign. And similarly, I think what happens in Congress, I think Kyle and Cantor walking out on the vice president because the Democrats are insisting on raising taxes. Two big developments there. But what do you think of both?
Well, first of all, remember, when Kyle and Cantor walked out, my gut tells me that they didn't walk out unless they had conversations with both McConnell and Boehner, and they came to a united consensus that where the Biden negotiations were going was nowhere. And my sense is the Democrats are going to be comfortable trying to blow this up. They want to put the Republicans in a bad scene, so they're demanding tax increases. It was the right thing to do, but I think it was a united effort by the leadership of the Republicans in the House and Senate to send a signal to the president: we're not going to be pressured on this. But let's watch and see what the Democrats do. I bet you a dime to a dollar there's some writer in the Treasury Department or in the West Wing of the White House who today is preparing the letters to go to Social Security recipients, Medicare recipients, and families of military members next month, saying if we don't pass a debt ceiling increase, you're not going to get paid or get your check. And they're going to use every bit of pressure they can bring to bear. The Republicans are absolutely right. No increase in the deficit in the debt ceiling unless there is more real spending cuts than in the debt ceiling increase.
I like what the Mint is pushing, and Orrin Hatch, I want a balanced budget amendment. I think we need it. I think it should be part of the debate in 2012. You agree?
Well, I do, but let's be realistic. To get it past this Congress would require almost 40% of the Democrats in the Congress to vote for it.
Let them
vote against it. But let's be realistic that we're not going to be able to get two-thirds of the Congress to vote for the debt ceiling this year.
I think it becomes
and we're putting them on record.
Put them on record, and then that I think could be a big campaign issue. Carl Rove, I love the blackboard. High tech. It's amazing stuff.
There we go. Look at it right there. It's just.
I want you to autograph it. We'll give it away. We'll sell it. Put it online on eBay for charity.
There we go. We'll do that.
All right. Thanks, Carl. Appreciate it. And coming up, the state of Maryland takes a huge step in pushing the global warming agenda and mandates public schools force a curriculum of, quote, environmental literacy. We'll tell you all about what kindergartens are going to be learning. That and our great American panel with Bernie McGurk and more. Straight ahead. Now, parents across the country already complain about the indoctrination that occurs in America's public schools. And now in Maryland, well, that indoctrination has become legal. On Monday, the state passed a law requiring that every public school student be, quote, environmentally literate before graduating from high school. What exactly does that mean? Well, according to draft guidelines posted on the Maryland Department of Education's website, children as early as pre-K can become environmental stewards. Early childhood students in the state of Maryland are taught how to make decisions that can positively impact the environment. Now, sixth graders will be required to, quote, explain that human-caused changes have consequences for Maryland's environment as well as for other places and future times, and to describe how environmental change in one part of the world can have consequences for other parts of the world. Now, this may seem strange, but Maryland is right in line with the message coming from the White House back in 2009. The Energy Secretary highlighted the special role of children in radicalizing our approach to the environment.
The young people actually seem to learn a little faster than their parents. The young people convince their parents to stop smoking, in large part. The young people have a really good plea. They can look, Mommy and Daddy, don't you care about me? You're going to leave me in what world? And do you really need to go 0 to 60 in 5 seconds?
Yes. Joining me now with reaction to this bizarre story, our Democratic strategist Steve Murphy, nationally syndicated columnist with Scripps Howard News. Betsy Hart is back with us. Guys, good to see you.
Good to see you, Sean.
You know, if you believe the caricature of Al Gore, by the way, Al Gore now wants population control for women, so we don't pollute the environment anymore, Steve. You know what? A whole group of environmental scientists got caught lying, distorting, propagandizing about, quote, so-called global warming. The latest buzz is now it's not global warming, it's global cooling. So the science is at best anything but consistent. Why do you feel on the left, like in this case you could indoctrinate kids, like in Massachusetts they can ask 12-year-olds if they've had oral sex and not inform parents? Why do you liberals feel you have the right to do this to kids, to our kids?
It's called science.
It's called
Maryland
indoctrination.
Pardon?
It's
indoctrination.
You
mean like character education, Sean? Like you should be good citizens, education about the founding fathers, the importance of the Constitution, the importance of everybody having the same rights. There's nothing wrong with education that leads to good citizenship, but in this case, the education is about science primarily. I read the entire document that was passed and is going to be implemented next year. Let me finish.
The
Sean,
science has been contradicted. And
we're not talking about
one side of the story.
Sean, it doesn't say a thing about global warming. It's not about global warming.
What do you think it's about?
No, it doesn't either. Read the point. Read where it says global warming.
Go ahead.
It's about the Chesapeake Bay, Sean. It's about the bay and the runoff into the bay.
Go ahead, Betsy.
Okay.